Hello everybody, good morning, welcome to the United Stands. I'm Mark Goldbridge and this is your latest Manchester United transfer news, and have we got a lot to get into this morning. Two potential late deals that would be shocks, and well, certainly one of them would be very, very positive. We've also got the latest on Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho's swap. More talks late last night. It could happen. Ooh, dear me. It don't get any better, does it? Anyway, we've also got the latest on 4 or 5 other deals that we need to bring you. And it's all about medicals today. Now, despite fake pictures of Manuel Ugarte being in Manchester, getting out of taxis, etc., they are a couple of years old, but the truth is he actually, he's at Carrington right now doing a medical. He flew in last night. He was at Carrington late last night as well. So today is the day where Manuel Ugarte is doing his medicals. And I suppose the two big things are, well, when will Man United announce it officially? And is there any chance that he gets involved for the Liverpool game on Sunday? Obviously, it's Wednesday morning. Very, 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 very unlikely that he will be starting for Manchester United on Sunday. I think we all know that anyway because of the way that Erik ten Hag works. But what we've been told is that his medical is today. He can train before it's announced officially because that's what Mazraoui and De Ligt did. But there isn't a training session today that will allow him to do that. His medical will still be ongoing. So tomorrow would be the first training session with the team. If he trains with the team, it's going to be push and go as to whether he's on the bench on Sunday, if we're being honest. I think he'll be on the bench, but very, very, very unlikely that he will start. When will we get official announcement? I mean, look, it depends how quick Man United want to be on it. They could get it done by later today. I would say probably more likely tomorrow. But look, at the end of the day, it's nice to get the comments. It's nice to see the pictures. It's the same what's going on with McTominay, isn't it? But the most important thing is when will we actually see him putting on a Man United shirt, because we lost against Brighton and we were a bit shit, to be honest, in the last 20 minutes. So we need to get this player on the pitch. It's another 3 points, and if we lose to Liverpool, it's 6 dropped in the first 9. So we can all get excited about when he's going to hold the shirt up. I think the most important thing is get him in the fucking team. That's what we need. We need to win games of football. This transfer window will be dead in 3 days, and all that will be left behind is results, and one of those results will be on Sunday. So I want him involved in the team. Lee Cape Town, welcome to the Members Club. And Mark, considering we got very few, if any, of our targets from before the window, how do you feel about our incomings? Happy, surprised and worried? Can I come back to that, Patrick? Because I think that's a good question with a few layers to it. Considering we got very few, if any, of our targets from before the window. Did we? I've never really thought of that. Did we not get our major targets this summer? Yeah, we'll come back to that one. It's a good one, Patrick. Let's get into the news. Hannibal's been announced. Yeah, we're not running a show on that, I'm afraid. If the guy had actually delivered in a Man United shirt, maybe, but it's not good riddance, but it's goodbye, crack on, and I'm very, very pleased that we got £5 million for him. That's about as far as it goes. Wish him all the best. Thank you very much. Anyway, let's get into more ruthless talk. I suppose that was ruthless, to be fair, but we need to be. Last night, look, we're going to talk about Sterling and Sancho. I've got 5 players here: Reguilon, Rabiot, Amrabat, Calvert-Lewin, and somebody else to talk to you about, all linked to Man United as potential late deals in the next 3 days. I want to talk to you about Victor Lindelof first. So Di Marzio last night came out saying that Lazio are now looking at Lindelof as a late deal to improve their defence. Now, we felt that with Lindelof that there was no chance of him going because he's got an injury. I know it might not be as glamorous as Man United are about to sign a left-back in the next couple of days, and maybe we will, maybe we won't. But if we can move Victor Lindelof out, that's another one of the 7, isn't it? We had 7 players we needed to get rid of this summer. Aaron Wan-Bissaka, Victor Lindelof, Harry Maguire, Casemiro, Eriksen, Scott McTominay, Sancho. Wan-Bissaka's gone. McTominay's gone. You get rid of Sancho and Lindelof. All right, it's not. You've still got Casemiro, Eriksen, and Maguire. But we were never going to get rid of all 7 anyway. If we can get it up to 4, I think that's reasonable, isn't it? So maybe his missus was right, says Raz. Maybe she was. But look, I still don't know. I mean, Di Marzio would know about Italian stuff, certainly. And with 1 year left on his deal, is there something Lazio can do with Lindelof? I mean, look, I heard last night that we don't want a left back because we can use Victor Lindelof as a backup for right back and left back. I don't think we can use Victor Lindelof as a backup at centre-back. So why is he suddenly a backup right back or left back? And I don't mind Lindelof as a centre-back, but let's be honest, he ain't that good. He's okay, but we're trying to get in the top 4. We're now going to use a guy we don't want to use at centre-back as a right back and a left back backup. I mean, since when has Victor Lindelof gone marauding down the wing to whip a cross in and overlap? And, you know, that to me just terrifies me that Lindelof is seen as a backup left back or right back. So, look, if there is a chance to get him out and he's 120k a week to Lazio, let's do it. Let's do it. You know, I don't see a downside to getting Lindelof out. We don't need to keep him. We've got 5 centre-backs without Lindelof. And if there's an opportunity to save yourself a few £1 million, we should do it. So we need to keep an eye on that one because it's coming in from Di Marzio, Lazio, Lindelof, lots of L's there. Can something happen in the next couple of days? Remember, he has got a bit of an injury, so it's unusual to see a player go when they're injured, but let's follow the news on that one with Di Marzio because I think that would be a huge late transfer for Man United to do, and it would be a big tick for me. I sense there's a bit of lethargy around the fan base that the transfer window is running out and people are getting tired of it, so they're just like, oh, let's just keep him. But ultimately, you need to stay focused. This is a player that we need to get out. If we can get him out in the next 2 or 3 days, it's a positive. If we can get Eriksen out in the next 2 or 3 days, it's a positive. They are effectively deadwood, sat on the bench, earning millions of pounds a month. We do need to move these players out, absolutely. So keep an eye on Lindelof. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but keep an eye on it. Want to talk about Amrabat? There's a couple of updates about him, but why aren't we looking at DeMarcos as Emperor? Why aren't we looking at Gutierrez? Why aren't we looking at Ivan Toney? I don't know. We're not. I don't know. I'm not the CEO. I'm not Dan Ashworth. But I want to talk about quite a few players that we might look at in these next few days. There's a lot going on around Manchester United at the moment, and there's a lot of rumour. It's going to be very difficult unless Manchester United put a statement out saying we're not buying a left back, we're not buying another midfielder, we're not buying anybody else after Ugarte, so don't listen to anything, which Man United will not do. Then we are about to move into what some might say is an exciting next few days. Some might say a confusing next few days. We will be linked to a lot in the next few days because we're an easy target. I mean, I was watching a clip this morning from Slow Sports News about how much money the Glazers have put in. Now, I pay for Sky. I'm sure you do. I pay for the Premier League coverage. To be honest with you, if John round the corner had Premier League rights, I'd pay him. I don't really care who's got the rights. I'm paying for that. I'm not paying for the coverage. I mean, that is one of the biggest broadcasters in the world talking about Manchester United and talking about money Glazers have put in when they've never put a bloody pound in. I mean, there's falling off and there's, you know, digging a massive hole. You know, what are they talking about? But my point actually is that, you know, that they will throw all sorts of stuff at United over the next few days because we are the club that generates the most interest. People don't talk about... No, you know, Man City have won 6 out of the last 7 Premier League titles. They've hardly done anything in the transfer window. Nobody's interested. Nobody is going, ooh, is Pep going to go and buy a player in the next 3 days? Nobody gives a toss about Manchester City, do they? And I'm not taking the piss out of City. I'm just telling you a fact. Like, you know, the fact is London's in England, you know, and the president of America at the moment is Biden. And we need oxygen to survive. And nobody gives a shit about Man City. Like, they're not interested in Man City because if Slow Sports News says Man City are thinking about a late deal for Ivan Toney, people would go, all right, okay. Anyway, I'll just carry on doing the ironing. But if they drop a story that Man United are looking at Reguilon in the last few hours, everyone will go, what? Shook the ironing out. This is amazing. So just be prepared over the next few days that we will probably get a load of crap thrown at us. But maybe amongst that, there might be some truth. Let's wait and see. The story I want to go through, I mean, look, Calvert-Lewin's a story that's out this morning. I will talk to you about that. Amrabat, Rabiot, Reguilon. We've got updates on all 4 of those. Good updates. But let's talk about Raheem Sterling and Jadon Sancho very, very quickly. You know what? Their talks are ongoing. I've said my piece. I don't want this deal to happen. I'm sure some of you want it as well. but I know what I'm talking about here. Well, I don't know what I'm talking about. I know what topic I'm talking about here. Talking about Slow Sports News, somebody mentioned it on the show yesterday. Troy Deeney was on Slow Sports News yesterday saying that Raheem Sterling is better than any winger we've got. I probably didn't analyse that as much as I wanted to. Can I just say, regardless of whether you think there's any truth in that or not, Raheem Sterling hasn't been good for 10 months. He had a good start to the season and fell off last season. So what are we talking about here? Are we talking about Little Red Riding Hood, the Three Little Pigs, Alice in Wonderland, Harry Potter, fantasy? Or are we talking about reality? What Raheem Sterling are we talking about here? The Wikipedia Raheem Sterling or the real one that doesn't get in a Chelsea matchday squad? Raheem Sterling cannot be better than Man United players that are actually playing in the Premier League. Raheem Sterling is at the bottom of the barrel. Like, nobody at Chelsea wants to pick him because they think Madueke is better, Mudryk is better, Neto is better. They think they're all better there, right? If someone wants to tell me that Raheem Sterling's better than every winger we've got, let's ring up Florentino Perez, one of the best judges in world football when it comes to recruiting talent. Let's offer Florentino Perez, Raheem Sterling or Garnacho. And let's see how many seconds it takes him to tell us the answer. Because I reckon he'll do it in under a second. I think he'll break the record, the world record, the Olympic record for making your mind up. I think he will do it as quick as you can say Garnacho. Because there is absolutely no way in a million years Raheem Sterling is a better prospect, player or signing than Garnacho. And if you went round every Premier League club, apart from bitter people who would do it just to prove a point, Liverpool, Arsenal, Man City, they'd all take Garnacho. So I don't need to talk about Ahmad, I don't need to talk about Anthony, and I don't need to talk about Rashford. Because the question is, would Sterling be our best winger? Absolutely not. Not my words, the words of every top football club in the world would take Garnacho over Sterling. And don't talk to me about, well, that's because he's 19. It's because he's better. You don't take someone on their bloody age. You don't look at their passport and go, oh, you're 29 and you're 19. I mean, that sounds just very sinister for a club president. They shouldn't be doing stuff like that. But it would be Garnacho. And, at the end of the day, is it mates rates? I mean, Rio was at it last week, wasn't he? Oh, I don't think it's right that Chelsea have treated Sterling like that. I mean, can you imagine what Rio's going to be like if we sign Sterling, his bloody mate? Oh, my God. Absolutely not. No. Look, I'll argue this. I don't give a toss if he's a childhood United fan. I don't give a toss if people think he's better than what we've got, because he's not. It's a bad deal, and I don't know why we're looking at it. But maybe it's just desperation to get rid of Sancho. But you know what? I throw your comments in if you want a bit of a comeback. It's about a debate. I mean, if you think Sterling's better than Garnacho, G-Man says Garnacho is potential. Yeah, mate. It was. I must have dreamt all the goals he scored for his last season. I must dream every time he comes on and makes a difference. Yeah, he's pure potential. So Garnacho, who's delivering on the pitch for Manchester United, is not better than Raheem Sterling, who's sat there with his press gang writing bloody press releases. Yeah, okay. The guy is washed. He is not as good as Garnacho. And also, the terrifying thing is, if you've got Marcus Rashford and Raheem Sterling at this football club, what damage is that going to do to Garnacho and Ahmad? That's one of the biggest things for me. Rashford never gets dropped. Sterling brought into this football club, I can't see him being on the bench. So we've got Rashford and Sterling starting and Garnacho and Ahmad, sat in a bloody tracksuit thinking, what's happened to my career? No one's thinking about that either, are we? We're meant to be a club that's about developing talent, and we're bringing in bloody 29-year-olds who played for Liverpool, Man City and Chelsea, giving them another bloody chance. Sod off. I think it's completely wrong. I do. I'm dead against it. Anyway, we're a news show, and the news is we can't sweep it under the carpet. United are considering doing this. They are. That's the latest from absolutely everybody, whether it's talk shit or it's, talk sense. It is absolutely something United are looking at doing and considering doing. I think the overarching thing is they're just so desperate to get rid of Jadon Sancho that they'd probably consider swapping him for a Vauxhall Astra at this point. I mean, they just clearly are brainwashed by getting rid of Jadon Sancho so much that Raheem Sterling becomes a prospect that they might look at. Because, as I said last night, if this wasn't about removing Jadon Sancho, would Manchester United have ever had Raheem Sterling in their plans this summer? You're telling me that if Jadon Sancho wasn't here and we wanted a winger, we would have said Raheem Sterling's the player that we want. This is a horrible set of circumstances. If it happens or not, it's completely and utterly circumstantial. We're only looking at it because Chelsea want to swap for Sancho, and we're only looking at it because Chelsea want to get rid of Sterling. That's not the way to do a transfer if you're trying to be Man City or Arsenal. You're meant to be looking at players that you get out of somewhere that you want, like Ugarte out of PSG, or De Ligt out of Bayern Munich, or Mazraoui, or Xerxes. You're looking for players that you want, that you can get out. Like, we would never have gone for Sterling. Never, ever, ever. The hate is unreal, says Yorel. Well, I don't hate anybody, mate. What the problem is, you're not very intelligent. So when people have a different opinion to you, like many people will have in the chat, you have to justify it in your low IQ as hate, because otherwise your terrible opinion will be exposed in your head, and your head will go, you really are not intelligent. So what you've got to do is justify a better opinion than yours as hateful, because then you can make yourself feel good and go, look at that hate. My thick opinion's actually really moral and nice. It's not hate, mate. Like, if you want the list of reasons why people don't want Sterling, there's plenty of them out there, and I've never read one of them that is about the way he runs, his height, or anything like that. So I don't know what you're talking about, hate. It's just called an opinion. If we get Sterling, the window goes down to a 5 out of 10, says Kristen. Chelsea's got 7 midfielders. Surely they don't want one, says Timon. Talking him up so much because he's English, says John. Sterling is poison. Very disappointing signing if it happens, says Chris. Now that, from Chris, could be considered a little bit hateful. I don't know whether he's poisonous or not, and that's not why I don't want him. I'm just saying, it's not hate if you don't want Raheem Sterling, because I've never heard anybody give a reason that would be classed as hate. Maybe what Chris is saying there might be a bit unfair, saying he's poisonous. I don't know. The reasons I don't want him are plentiful, and not one of them is based on hate. I think Ugarte could play against Liverpool like Mazraoui did when he came in. He's a massive upgrade and we need him to play, says Ricky. I can only tell you what I've been told about Ugarte, and it's, ridiculously low chance that he will start against Liverpool, because Man United don't even know what his fitness levels are, because remember, he's not played any games for PSG. Finally, Mark, we have a McFred in one player. Ugarte, do you think he is better than both combined? JD, I think you're better than McFred combined. Wilcox is behind the Sancho exit from their time at City, says Joshua. Well, it's his job, Joshua. I think we need to move past this, by the way. Like, at what point are we going to move past this? Oh, this is because of Favell. This is because of Ashworth. This is because of Wilcox. This is because of Barada. This is because of Rude. This is because of Ten Hag. Like, they've been here for a few weeks now, months, some of them. We're a collective. We can't, it's Jason Wilcox's job as technical director to be involved in players moving and not going. It's also Dan Ashworth's job to be involved in it as director of football. It's Barada's job as CEO to oversee it. Like, it makes me laugh every time I see someone going, oh, this is down to Wilcox. Wilcox is that, because, Wilcox used to be at Man City and then he was at South. It's definitely down to Wilcox. This one's because of Ashworth. And it's like, but it's a bit weird. It's a little bit weird for a football fan base to be talking about individual roles within the club to such a fetish extent. Like, they're all part of the same unit now, and we need to see them as a collective. We're Manchester United. I know some of them are new in the role, but they're all working together. Like, there is a committee. That's the whole point. Nobody works as a rogue, which is why when somebody said yesterday, Ten Hag didn't want Ugarte and it was Wilcox who did. That's impossible. That is impossible in the current United setup for Manchester United to go and sign a player that that Ten Hag doesn't want or Barada doesn't want. That's not how it works. Everybody has to agree to it. There might be dissenting voices in the negotiation point when, if Dan Ashworth says, let's get Raheem Sterling, and Barada says, oh, I don't know about that, or Ten Hag says, I don't know about that, but they will talk it through until they get to a point where everyone's on the same page. Also, Sterling has played for City and Liverpool, says Dex. Hi, Mark. Bit of a random one, but do you plan on playing FIFA this year? I do, Isaac. Yes, I do. Dex says Sterling is not good enough. I don't know why the club are entertaining this deal with Chelsea. Look, Dex, as I said last night, I don't blame Man United for keeping this story alive. It just depends what the outcome is. If we're keeping this story alive to try and poke Juventus to do something a bit bigger than they want to do, happy days, everybody's a winner. If we're using Chelsea to get the best deal out of Juventus, this is brilliant negotiating. And as I said last night, if you're selling a car and you want to sell to one person, but someone else is interested and might get the price up from that person, then why would you not do that? Great first window, prepping for window 2, 3, 4, etc. says Stu. And finally, we have a McFred in one player, says JD. Why aren't we looking? I've done that one. Okay, let's move on. Unless Ineos is funding a Scooby-Doo remake, I don't want Raheem Sterling, says Muyad. And if you are Chelsea, why would you want yet another winger? They have too many already, not even including Sterling. This deal makes no sense for anyone, says Steve. Yeah, but maybe they'd use Sancho as a 10. I don't know. And the main reason I don't want Sterling is because I think he finished anyway as a top club player. This is Ray Carl Brown Amore. Thanks, Ray. Hope you're well. And we are collective now. So any deals is not just Ten Hag. And Scott says Sterling runs. Yeah, not Scott. That is a little bit hateful when you're talking about him running like he shit himself. And Harvey Specter says Cucurella would be the swap I'd be interested in. I agree. Muyad says Alexis Sanchez, Zlatan, Falcao, Casemiro, Agallo, Weghorst. I thought Ineos would learn from past mistakes of signing players in their twilights of their careers. Great point. And if it does happen, Mark, Ineos are changing the process already. Young player is where they were now. They want players with a walking stick, says Double D. And Rash is already destroying the development of game and Garner and Ahmad because of this job to make him perform. He's the biggest squad problem we've ever had, says Zion. Well, look, Rashford, Mason Mount, Onana are all great topics when the transfer window's closed. I'm not disputing that, Zion, but obviously we've got 2 or 3 days left of the transfer window. Robbo with the great point. I spoke about this last night. It's a total FFP deal, Mark. Pure profit for both. I think I despair at this. I absolutely despair at this. And this morning I implore, please, somebody in the mainstream, do your job for once. Instead of pretending you've got leaks from the dressing room or sticking the knife in on the manager and acting like some sort of bloody glorified keyboard warrior from bloody Twitter, actually do the thing you went to university for, journalism. There's a brilliant story there for one of you outlets, whether it's the BBC, The Athletic, or even Sky, right? There's a great story here. Get somebody who understands financial fair play, do it in the next hour and whack the story out and it will go viral. You know what the story is? Financially, why does this make sense for Manchester United to give Sancho to Chelsea and Chelsea to give Sterling to Man United? Because a lot of people are thinking there must be something that is a backdoor deal that makes it a good deal financially. Well, that doesn't help us as football fans. I'm not, I don't want to help the Glazers out to, settle their bank balance again. What is it about this deal that makes sense from an FFP point of view? All we want to know is why swapping Sterling with Sancho is better than doing a deal with Juventus. Because from a football sense, it doesn't make any difference. It doesn't make any sense. Jadon Sancho's 24, Raheem Sterling's 29. Jadon Sancho is a better player than Sterling over the next 5 years. Fact. He will be, because Sterling's just going to continue to fall off. And if Jadon Sancho goes to Chelsea and does well, we look like a bunch of pantomime prats. So this is a deal that is full of risk for Man United, unless there's something financial there. Now, I don't know, but United are not going to... Financial fair play doesn't work for us with Sancho because he's on massive wages and no one will give us the money that we paid to him. So if we do a swap deal with Chelsea, who are also in the same position, they only bought Sterling 2 years ago and he's on massive wages and they'll never get that money back. So both these players are probably going to go down as a huge loss on the books. But if you swap each other and you inflate their value, do you manipulate the books? There's a story there. Somebody go and figure it out. Because a lot of people are talking about it and going, is there a way that Chelsea and Man United can cook the books to do a swap deal and inflate the values and, basically make it look really good? I don't know. But I think Ken's right. We're potentially making a rival stronger than us. Look, Jadon Sancho's attitude is in question. We all know that. Honestly, if I was... Look at it like this then, right? If I was if I'm the manager of Tottenham, if I'm Ange, right? If I'm Ange Postecoglou, and I'll stop the Australian accent now because it probably sounds Scottish. If I'm Ange, right, this is a brilliant one. If I'm Ange, so I'm not Man United and I'm not Chelsea, if I'm Spurs coach and I'm offered Raheem Sterling or Jadon Sancho free, but you can only pick one, I'm taking Sancho every time. So there endeth the lesson. I would take Sancho over Sterling every day of the week if I was Spurs. Because Sterling's 30 in December and Jadon Sancho's not 25 yet. With Jadon Sancho, all I'm fighting, and it's a tough fight, is consistency and making him feel good and welcome. And he might grow up anyway. You know, a lot of people who behave badly between 22 and 25 grow up in their late 20s. So with Sancho, if I get him working, I've got him in his prime. With Raheem Sterling, there's a bit of baggage, but also you know he's going to drop off a cliff. He's just going to get worse over the next 5 years. So again, I just think it's dangerous for Manchester United. I really do. I'd much rather have Chalobah, says Sean Turner, than Sterling. The deal makes zero sense. He's a squad player swap. They're going to still be sitting on the bench, which is why they both want to leave anyway, says Sean. Yeah, well, that's the thing, isn't it? If you bring Sterling in, he's clearly not going to want to sit on the bench because that's why he wants to leave Chelsea anyway. So it's not even... I mean, there's so many problems with swapping Sterling with Sancho, but one of the biggest problems is he would start. You know, get your head around that, United fans. It's not just the swap deal, he would start. Because if he doesn't start, he becomes a massive problem. So, again, what does this do to Garnacho? What does this do to Ahmad? Yorel, welcome to Members Club. That Ten Hag doesn't want Ugarte is bullshit. He has a transfer veto in his contract. It is still there from when he signed. Yeah, absolutely spot on, Casper. Ravelin, welcome to the Members Club. Thank you very much. You're a legend. Would prefer to give Sancho away for free than signing T-Rex arms, says Trevor. And who said we're in for Pickford? Unless Ineos is funding a scoot. I've done that one. Okay, so look, let's see what happens with this. I think that, you know what? It's just one of those. Hopefully, we'll get some resolvement on it. Would you rather keep Jadon and don't get anyone else, or sell Sancho and get Sterling? Says Gadge. I mean, I knew someone was going to ask this question. I'm gonna run a poll on this because I think it's a very good one actually, and I'm not buying myself time. I know my answer. I just want to give everyone else a chance to do it. So either or, keep Sancho. This is a great one. Keep Sancho, or swap for Sterling. Because basically that's maybe what Man United are thinking. Harvey Specter says it could also be a bad move for Sancho. Depends how desperate. I mean, look, I think something that does get missed here is that Sancho doesn't want to be at Man United. You know, there are people in our fan base who still tweet stuff out about their star boy and it's Ten Hag's fault and it's not Jadon's fault. He doesn't want to be at Man United. Like, you're a United fan. When does your loyalty to the badge kick in? He doesn't want to play for Manchester United and you're still defending him. Like, he doesn't want to be here. That, as is his right, but he doesn't want to be here. There has been no demonstration since last autumn of his love for Manchester United. It's not in his socials. He doesn't respond to it. He doesn't say anything positive about Manchester United. And yet still we've got people in our fan base that go Starboy. And it's like, he doesn't want to be here. He doesn't have to be here. He doesn't want to be here. Why are you still like, oh, Starboy, play him? He doesn't want to be here. And that's the thing. You've got to consider that Sancho's going to be desperate to get out as well. Get Sterling to wake up Rashford, says Alex. And I think Sterling on a 2-year deal could work, but no longer than that because of his age, says Ricky. You know what? I feel like Sterling is a bit like Ten Hag on Saturday. I can't move past Sterling. I don't know about you. I can't move past Ten Hag's mistakes from Saturday. Every day I wake up, I think I'm not going to be as frustrated. And every day I go, what did he do that for? What? And that, you know, I still can't move past it. And this Sterling deal just doesn't get any better by the hour. I keep thinking, oh, at some point I'll just start to feel a little bit better about it. And I'm like, I just don't. In fact, I feel worse about it every time I bloody think about it. Anyway, let's move it on, and we'll come back to that poll in a moment. But there are some other things to talk about. So, the prospect of huge late transfers beyond the Sterling Sancho deal. Where are we at? So, it is Wednesday morning. We are nearly 48 hours away from the closure of this transfer window. Just 2 days left of this epic transfer window and massively long summer. As I said last night, I can't believe the Euros happened this summer. It just feels so long. And what could we do in the next 2 days? Well, we've mentioned Lindelof and Di Marzio and Lazio. Let's keep an eye on that. We've also got a story on Amrabat, Calvert-Lewin, Rabiot and Reguilon to give you on the updates there. So, look, they're possible. Do I think there is a left field player that we have not mentioned that could come to Manchester United? Well, of course, because previous transfer windows teach us that. Nobody was talking about Agallo the day before we did it. So anything can happen. And remember, it doesn't have to be a permanent deal. It could be a loan deal. And actually, the closer you get to the final day of the window, the more you need to realise it probably will be a loan deal, because doing a permanent deal in 2 days is very, very, very difficult. So I think what we're looking at now is we're either not going to do anything else apart from this Sterling Sancho resolvement, or we're going to do something we've been working on before, i.e. Amrabat, etc., or we'll do a loan deal. And I think that's what we're left with doing, 3 options. Ivan Toney says, Sean, we're not even in talks for Toney, and that's a big deal. You know, Toney is ready to go to Saudi Arabia. He's just waiting on Chelsea. So we're not even in talks. So Toney's not going to happen. On Amrabat, the latest with Amrabat is that he is currently, according to Fabrizio Romano, Fiorentina are in talks with, I think is it Fenerbahce? Yeah, Fenerbahce, which is Mourinho, isn't it? So Amrabat, and we know that Fenerbahce wanted Amrabat when Amrabat was on his cycling bike in Man United shorts. So Fenerbahce's interest in Amrabat is long term. They're in talks with Fiorentina for a, was it 14 million euros deal. But Fiorentina want a little bit more. Basically, I think Fiorentina want 15 million euros, which is 12 million pounds. That is going to be a little bit too much for United. Fabrizio said Everton have been sniffing around, but I feel like the Amrabat, look, it will get buried like a cat shit, and no one will ever remember it. But we probably, if we hadn't had so much else going on, I think the Amrabat saga this summer, well, last summer was weird. I think this summer it's been even weirder. I mean, last summer Amrabat had no pre-season and we bought him on the final day of the window, even though we wanted him for 2 months. This summer, he left us on June the 30th, and we never really seemed to make a decision on whether we wanted him back or not. It was sort of like, yeah, you just do your thing, and we'll keep you on the website, and we'll see how things go. And we never really seemed to make a decision on Amrabat, did we? We never, at least with Sabitzer, it was like, we don't want you back, crack on. But with Amrabat, it was sort of like, yeah, you just keep yourself fit and we'll figure it out. So, look, I don't think Amrabat's coming to Manchester United, but I do feel, I feel a bit bad for Amrabat, you know, because we never really got that we're not renewing your loan deal. So we never really got, I'm sure he probably would have done a social media post and got a bit of appreciation because he played really well in that FA Cup final. When people forget, Casemiro got dropped for Amrabat, and we've never given him a thank you. And we are a club that is that's very important to us, whether it's Scott McTominay, whether it's Henrik Larsson, who was on loan with us for a short period of time. But Amrabat played really well in that FA Cup final. And it would have been nice for us to have just had a goodbye. And we haven't had that. And we are better than that as a football club. And I'm pretty sure Sir Jim Radcliffe will probably assess that as part of their transfer review over the next couple of weeks, is what happened with the Amrabat thing, because we really should have just said, we're not renewing your loan. We're not going to, because we had an option to buy as well. It wasn't like Sabitzer where it was, short-term fix from January to May. We had him for a whole year with an option to buy. So I do feel that the Amrabat thing is just weird, because we should have at least acknowledged that we weren't taking him, because it would have been nice. He would have, Just some thank you, gratitude. We won an FA Cup. We won an FA Cup, and he was a massive part of it. And that FA Cup was an absolute, heist. It really was. And he was a big part of that. So weird. Long story short, I don't think we're going to do anything with Amrabat. Maybe we can do. Maybe we should do. But Eriksen is still here, isn't he? So there we go. So Amrabat, Fenerbahce at the moment. Everton, slight interest. Still at Fiorentina. That's coming in for Romano, but nothing from Manchester United. Rabiot, free transfer, available. Rabiot is interesting in the sense that the only club sort of looking around Rabiot at the moment in the last few hours is AC Milan. Now, as soon as I read this, I instantly thought, there we go. And not in a Fabrizio way, it's like lunch. AC Milan are close to Rabiot. Do your thing, Barada. We've done it before with Xerxes. We nearly did it with Fofana, apparently. Let's hijack. Get those parachutes on. It's time to swoop in. Look, I don't know. I don't know whether Rabiot happens. The interesting thing about Rabiot is you talk about you can't do a transfer in 2 days. You can do a free agent in 2 hours. It's just a piece of piss. You ring the agent up and you go, that's the offer. Let's talk. Fly into Manchester. So Rabiot, I feel, is a bit of a fan theory because we've looked at him for the last 2 years. But you know what? Torva says, please get Rabiot. I would say there's absolutely no chance of Rabiot. And I would say he symbolises everything we shouldn't be doing. Again, another 29-year-old who is basically looking for a final big contract. It's not very long-term thinking. And also, if you bring him into Man United, he's not going to be happy to be sat on the bench. So I don't see Rabiot coming to Manchester United at all. I don't think it ticks the right boxes. Having said that, the fact that we're now talking to Sterling, Rabiot's a better idea than Sterling. Like, Rabiot actually, as a midfielder at 29, will have more longevity than a 30-year-old winger. Like, wingers lose pace into their 30s. And wingers that are good when they're 24, 25, 26, 27 are not going to be the same winger when they're 30, 31, 32. But midfielders, well, they mature like a fine wine. They're not pace dependent. We were talking about this with Ugarte. You never talk about how quick a midfielder is. But Ugarte's quick across the ground. But it's never really... You think about Roy Keane, Steven Gerrard, Yaya Toure, Rodri. Pace is never the thing that's in the top 3 attributes, is it? But with a winger, it always is. So if you're going to buy a 29-year-old anything, buy a 29-year-old midfielder because their reduction in pace is not really going to be the issue unless they're injury prone. But Sterling at 30, he's going to lose pace. He's going to lose pace like you lose water out of a leaky water bottle. It's just going to disappear. Don't want Sterling, but if Sancho doesn't want to be here and Sterling wants to come in there with no other option, then unfortunately I'd think about it, says Bees. Well, it's interesting because we've got a poll running on this. Either or, keep Sancho or swap for Sterling. So basically the option is, if there's nothing else on the table other than a swap with Sterling and the other alternative is to keep Sancho, what would you do? 68% of you would keep Sancho, 32% of you would swap for Sterling. Most of you want Sancho out. We've ran polls this summer and it's been running into the 90% of let's get rid of Sancho. And yet, nearly 70% of you would keep him rather than taking Sterling. And controversial or not, can I just say, I'm with the 70%. If it's keep Sancho or swap him for Sterling, I'll keep Sancho. Because at some point, he's either going to start playing well or we will find a move for him in January or next summer. We're not desperate. We don't need to do this. It is the night is dark and it is full of terrors. Close the door, sit in front of the fire and be patient. Tomorrow it'll be lighter and safer. We don't need to do this deal. We do need to move Sancho out, but he needs to move out himself. We don't have to do it. And Sancho for Sterling, I just see us looking stupid in 6 months, a year, 2 years. This deal will be better for Chelsea. That's why they want to do it. Chelsea fans are ecstatic about this. They want it to happen because they're getting the better player. Both players have fallen on hard times, but Sancho's got the bigger glow-up potential. So I'm with you. I don't want Sancho to stay, and Sancho doesn't want to stay. But I'm not that desperate that I'd swap him for Sterling. Absolutely not. Bees says, okay, we've done that one. Hi, Mark. Is Onana going to play the whole season, or is the other guy going to have some game time? We're going to talk about Onana next week, Kone, because there's a lot of people talking about it. And after the Liverpool game, we'll have seen him 3 games. So we'll talk about that. But no, I think Onana will be the first choice. Would you do Chiesa for Sancho, Mark? Slick. I like the name. Very heat. I saw something this morning that Liverpool could be signing Chiesa for as little as £10 million. That's less than what Fiorentina want for Amrabat. £10 million for 26-year-old Chiesa. I'd take Chiesa over Sterling every day of the week and Sunday. £10 million is what Liverpool might be getting Chiesa for. And we're doing a swap deal for fucking Sterling. Who's the idiot? Sorry, Mark. In a season where we might struggle to score goals and injuries, we need Sterling to finish top 4. 1 injury to our winger and you want him, says Sanil. I don't. Don't put words in my mouth. I don't. Stick says, exactly, Mark. He doesn't want to be here. We can't sell him. I'd take Sterling knowing he's gone. Another one who would do it. It would generally suck if Sancho got traded and helped Chelsea get top 4 and we get Sterling, who I personally think isn't better, says John. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so we spoke with updates on Amrabat, Rabiot, Lindelof. Let's talk about Reguilon. This is just a bit of sort of gold bridge digging, I'd call it. Digging for gold. What an idiot. 2 days from the transfer window being closed in year 10, and I've just completely missed a section in the transfer window that would have been good. It's the digging for gold section with Goldbridge. So I've been doing a bit of digging and not necessarily found I've not necessarily found some gold here. I've probably dug up a bloody turd, to be honest. But I was doing a bit of digging with a couple of people who have been very good to the channel over recent years. And I was just like, left back. Is there any chance of us doing anything with a left back? Because it's all our community ever talks about, and actually we do need a left back. And the story is that we're not going to do anything, which is just very, very confusing. So what I was told was there are options that could be done on transfer deadline day. There's Marcus Alonso, but to be honest, that I was told Marcus Alonso is just crap journalism, because it's just, he's 32, he's not even that good, and he's free. So Man United need a left back. There you go. What I was told was Reguilon, because Ten Hag liked Reguilon. We had him a year ago. Spurs are trying to move him on. Obviously, he was on loan at Brentford. The latest with Reguilon is that Man United are doing nothing, but there is a lot of interest from Turkey for Reguilon, and Spurs are expecting to do a deal. Galatasaray, Besiktas have been linked to him. The problem is Reguilon's still very unlikely for Manchester United, because Ineos don't really want to do stopgap loans, and also Spurs don't want a loan, they want a permanent deal. So as much as Reguilon could be an option, it doesn't fit up in with what Ineos want to do. Now, what we're hearing from Manchester United side sources are that the reason Man United aren't looking at a left back is because they want to bring somebody in that's long term. There's a lot of praise around Amas. They just don't feel he's ready. And although they acknowledge that Luke Shaw and Malacia are huge risks, they don't see the point in bringing in a short-term loan that will be sent back and won't be the long-term cover. So they would rather go with what they've got and utilise funds next summer, or even in January, for a proper, well, probably going to be next summer, on a proper long-term fixture that could be Amas a year on. The problem is, in the short term, what you're going to do when Malacia and Luke Shaw aren't ready. So I don't think we're going to do anything with the left back, but the only one that sort of came out was Reguilon. And then another interesting story. I don't want to scare people, because I think a lot of people are already scared about Sterling, but Calvert-Lewin has been mentioned again this morning. Now, We've had a very good summer transfer window, and I want to talk about what Patrick Lynch said in a minute. We have had a good summer transfer window, but there has been stories out there, as there always are, that are founded in truth that probably terrify the fan base. We are in talks with Chelsea, and Raheem Sterling is being mentioned. We can bury our head in the sands and we can criticise it, as is our right, but the truth is that we are actually looking at that deal. We've also considered Calvert-Lewin since March. I don't really understand why, and maybe we need to move on from that. The why is not important. The truth is we have looked at Calvert-Lewin for the last 7 months. Again, I struggle to understand why, because he's not that good. He's ridiculously injury prone, and he is not proven anywhere near the level we need. But he is English. He has got 1 year left on his contract. Is that now the criteria? I don't know. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but just to all those people that are praying for Calvert-Lewin, if you're praying for Calvert-Lewin, bloody hell, God. But all those people who are praying for a late swoop for Ivan Toney, just be careful what you wish for, because you might end up with Calvert-Lewin. He has got 1 year left on his contract. He's not going to sign a new contract at Everton. Everton are very much thinking about cashing in, and then you're looking at who's interested. Just be wary of that over the next 48 hours. I would put it down as very, very, very unlikely, but the fact that it came up again this morning, and we know that there was genuine interest in March, just in the rhythm of acknowledging anything can happen in the next 2 days, anything and nothing can happen in the next 2 days, of course. If you're looking for shocks, that would be shocking. Who would you rather have, Calvert-Lewin or Sterling? Mate, that is a tough. Yeah. Let's just say I couldn't get excited about either. Yeah. Alonso went to Celta Vigo, says Patrick Lynch. Well, there you go. Sorted. We can't go for him anymore. How are these? How are those twats able to get these ridiculous bargains? Says Slick, talking about Liverpool, and wasn't the issue with Casemiro and Eriksen that their legs went overnight? So there's still risks with older midfielders, says Glenn C. Good point, yeah. But I think whilst you raise a good point, Glenn, it's way more of an issue for wingers because they're pace dependent. If you look at somebody like... there's plenty of midfielders that have played football at a very high level. And I know football's changed a lot, but Paul Scholes and Ryan Giggs were playing centre midfield into the late 30s. Modric is still playing now. I think you can be a 33, 34, 35, 36-year-old midfielder if you set up tactically correctly. You can't be a 32-year-old midfielder in a Man United midfield when your defence is deep and your attack is high and you've got to cover, half a football pitch on your own, which is what happened with Casemiro last year. I think even if you've got legs, you're going to struggle with that, to be honest with you. There was a great question from Patrick Lynch just before I must go back to, though. He said, right at the start of the show, and I want to get your opinions on this, considering we got very few, if any, of our top targets from before the window, how do you feel about our incomings? Happy, surprised, or worried? Let me just try and dig into that before I tell you whether I'm happy, surprised, or worried and get some of your comments as well. So considering we got very few, if any, of our top targets, well, we wanted Elise, we didn't get him. We wanted Branthwaite, we didn't get him. In relation to the striker, I don't think Xerxes was number one. I just don't know who number one was. So yeah, I'd acknowledge Xerxes probably wasn't number one. Because we went very late on Xerxes as well. It's very obvious that Xerxes wasn't number one because we didn't move on Xerxes until the middle of June. And Milan were very advanced on that deal. So yeah, okay, I'd say Xerxes probably wasn't plan A. I'd say Yoro was plan A. I think it's very obvious that Yoro was plan A, just how much we fought Real Madrid to do it. So I'd say Yoro was plan A. De Ligt, I think, happened because we couldn't get Todibo. And I'd say... that's an upgrade. Mazraoui as the right back. I don't know what the plan was with right back. I suspect maybe Frimpong was thought about, but we don't have the money for him. But I don't know. Mazraoui may well have been number one. And Ugarte, I'd imagine Ugarte probably is number one for the midfield anyway, because I can't think who else it would have been. I don't think we pivoted to Ugarte. We moved on Ugarte quite quickly in late June. So I think Ugarte's plan A, Yoro's plan A, Mazraoui could be plan A. De Ligt was because Todibo, but I think De Ligt's better than Todibo. Xerxes, probably not plan A, but very happy with that. So all in all, yeah, I get what you're saying, Patrick. I think that maybe it was João Neves instead of Ugarte, actually. Yes, Joe, you're right. Sorry, I've had a brain blank there. So yeah, okay, let's say that De Ligt, Ugarte, Xerxes, maybe Mazraoui are not plan A signings, but certainly Yoro is. I'm happy. I am happy. Look, you want to get your plan A's, and obviously we wanted Elise and we didn't get a striker, and we wanted Branthwaite and we didn't get him. In all honesty, if we'd have got a left back, I'd have been giving this transfer window an 8. And I said that last night. I'm happy with this transfer window. There's an element of surprise. I'm not worried. So Patrick says, are you happy, surprised or worried? I'm generally happy. There's an element of surprise about how we've pivoted really well. I'm not worried about any of the signings we've made. And that's not because I'm just being ultra positive. I think in previous transfer windows, I've been worried. I was worried about Fellaini years ago. I was worried about Lukaku and Matic. I was worried about Di Maria. Didn't feel like he wanted to come to the club. We were sort of told that. Worried about Schweinsteiger, even though I was happy. I was like, is it a little bit too late? So I'm not worried about any of these signings. I'm sure one or two of them might not achieve the levels we want to, but that's normal. But generally, I'm happy. And I think I'm surprised how we've pivoted quite well from Todibo to De Ligt. I see that as an upgrade. There's no doubt that Todibo was going to be the centre-back and the UEFA ruling did us. But the way we've pivoted from Todibo to De Ligt, I think, is actually an improvement. And I would take De Ligt over Todibo now. Be interesting if you'd asked me that in March. I don't know. I really liked the idea of Todibo, but I don't know if you'd said to me in March whether I would have gone for Todibo or De Ligt. I can't honestly give you the answer. But now I'm very happy with that. Ugarte or João Neves, of course, I would have loved João Neves. And I think United would have liked João Neves. And I think he's a different type of midfielder as well. But again, you can't always get what you want. And I think what we've pivoted to, I'm excited about as well. So, look, I think in previous windows, we didn't get plan A, but we didn't get plan B, C or D, and you end up with plan E. If plan B is good, you're not always going to get plan A. So I'm happy with the incomings. I'd like us to have got a left back. And I think that also it's important to remember that some of the negatives are the positives. When you don't get Todibo, but you pivot to De Ligt, that shows an ability that you've got really good analysis on backup options. And also, when you don't get Branthwaite because you don't pay what Everton want, which is silly money, that's a good message as well, especially when the fans are on side. I mean, I remember saying that at the time. When have we ever had a situation when we're telling the club not to spend that money? Like, normally it would be, it's not our money. I remember with Harry Maguire, a lot of us were going, it's not our money, just do it. Whereas now we're going, don't do it. Don't be held to ransom. Don't let people take the piss. So I think there's a lot of positives about the incomings. I just think that a left back would have been really nice, and Elise would have been really nice, because I tell you what, people forget. Ineos were crazy about getting Elise. He was a #1 target, and I remember when we played Palace. There was a time at the end of last season where I was absolutely convinced that we were going to get Elise, and if we'd have got Elise, we wouldn't be having this stupid chat about Raheem Sterling either. So, but look, we were never gonna. I said we would never get a 9 on incomings. A 10 and a 9 were impossible to me. To get to 7.5 ain't too bad, because it could be a lot worse. It could be a lot worse. We should swap Sancho for Colwell and play him at left back, says Josh. And if United see Lindelof as a backup left back, then why not put Amas there, even though he's 17? He's a better option than Lindelof. Exactly, says Bjorn. Sancho for Cucurella, yes, says Anthony Murray. And I'd like to see Amrabat and Ugarte play together. I think he's who Amrabat needed to play with and would be good for Mainu as well, says Ian Hanley. There we go. What a show this morning. Loads we've got through. Thanks everybody for tuning in as per usual. Absolute legends. Oh, I feel like I need a yawn after that. What a show. So much in there. And also, it won't stop. Yesterday was a busy day. Today will be a busy day. Tomorrow will be a busy day. And Friday will be a busy day. So make sure you subscribe, get involved. Loads and loads to get into. I'm sure we're going to get updates through the day. And we will react to them with you. Greetings from Chile, says Ulysses. I've just saw in Spanish site that United is going for Girona's left back, Gutierrez. That would be great. Well, let's see if it hits anything here today, because I doubt it will, but I would love that. Take care, everyone. Stay safe. I'll speak to you all later.